This is Brad, and if he answers 8 questions correctly, he wins a $600 prize. And he proves he has what it takes to become a time billionaire. But this isn't about money or real estate. It's about winning back the one thing that matters the most, your time.
Some unplanned slow travel. So just go without any real plan, and just move on to the next destination whenever I was tired of the current one.
So let's play the game that could change his life and maybe yours too. Welcome to Who Wants to Be a Time Billionaire? Here's how the game works. Brad has to answer 7 out of 8 questions right to win the grand prize. Free entry to my Rental Property Mastery Retreat, a private event for members of my coaching community, Rental Property Mastery. That prize is worth $600, but just 2 wrong questions and it's all gone. This is rapid fire real estate, no lifelines, no safety net. All right, let's play. All right, Brad, are you ready to see if you can be a time billionaire?
I think so. Let's do it.
All right, so the first question we have is the main goal of the small and mighty real estate investor is A, to keep leverage or debt forever, B, to use real estate to gain financial freedom forever, C, brag about your 100 units on social media, or D, 10x your monthly cash flow. Which one is it?
I'll go with B, final answer.
Final answer. All right, let's see. You got it. Use real estate to gain freedom forever. By the way, people watching here, we're gonna start a little bit easy. We're gonna kind of move things up a little bit, but the main point, really the mission of the podcast, the main point of Coach Carson is helping people use real estate investing to get financial freedom so they can spend their time, whatever they want to do, time billionaire style, do whatever matters. So financial freedom. Good answer, Brad. All right. So the second question, similar topic. You hit your financial freedom or your financial independence, your FI number, when A, you've reached your rental unit goal, B, when you've flipped 25 plus houses, C, when all of your debt is low interest, or D, when your wealth can pay for your lifestyle.
I will go with D. That's the final answer.
Final answer. All right. He's pretty confident on these folks. Here we go.
Yeah.
D. All right, you got that, Brad. Brad, you're
yeah.
You seem to be onto these answers so far. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, you gotta step it up a little.
All right, here we go. So, next question. So when your business grows too much or too fast, it takes on a life of its own, outside of your control. What does Coach Carson call this type of business when it gets too big and too fast, out of your control? Is it A, a golden goose business? Is it B, a Pinocchio business? C, a Frankenstein business? Or D, an alligator business?
Yeah, so I don't know if I would know this unless I was in Rental Property Mastery, where I've heard you say this, and the answer is D, alligator business. Final
answer?
Yes, sir.
Oh no, Brad, we got one. This is actually a Frankenstein business, and this is a little trickier. This is like one of those something for a little nugget, little Easter egg from the book, The Small Mighty Real Estate Investor. That is not real super prominent, but I'll tell the story. Is that there was 3 investors. There was one who had 10 properties, another one had 50 units, and a third one was super successful, had tons of units, and they went on this trip to Europe and they enjoyed the trip. But the one who had thousands of units, when they tried to extend the trip and keep traveling, they couldn't do that because they had to go back to take care of all these different things in their business. Even though they had the most money, they didn't have that much time or freedom. They actually had this business which was kind of it taken on a life of its own. I compared that to a Frankenstein, and that story of Frankenstein where the scientist, he brings this creature to life, and he thought it would be amazing, but then the creature took over his whole life and is a horror story. And so the idea was sometimes you let your business get so big that it becomes a Frankenstein and it takes on a life of its own. So kind of an obscure question there, but
it makes sense now that you thought about it a little more. I got too confident, I think.
No worries. So we do, just for everybody watching here, you can miss one answer and still get the grand prize of $600 value, the RPM retreat, which I talked about earlier. And so you're still good, Brad. You can't miss any more from here, though, right?
All right.
Here we go. Next question is, what is the most popular real estate investing strategy as a starter? Is it A, turnkey long-term rentals, B, house hacking, C, fixer-upper long-term rentals, or D, live-in flips? What would you say?
I think I will choose B, house hacking.
Final answer?
Yeah.
All right, a little bit. We have some good options on this one. I mean, some of these others are possible.
Yeah.
But that was a good answer. Good answer, Brad. You got that one. You're still alive because house hacking. Almost everybody I've talked to who's gotten started in real estate investing. There's different people who start different ways, but house hacking, where you live in a house and you rent out either an extra bedroom, rent out the basement, rent out an ADU, or you live in a duplex or rent an extra unit. You generate income to help you pay for your lifestyle and your mortgage. That's been a big part of like a lot of people starting as a real estate investor. So definitely a good strategy. Have you been a house hacker, Brad? Have you ever done that?
I have not. No.
There are exceptions. But
I would consider it.
You consider it. Yep. All right. Well, good answer anyway. Next question here, and we're moving it. The stakes are getting a little bigger as we get closer and closer. So, which are the two primary profit drivers of any real estate investment? So, how do you make profit when you buy a property? What are the two main ways? Is it A, rental income and equity growth? Is it B, equity growth and tax benefits? Is it C, rental income and tax benefits? Or D, monthly dividends and cash flow? What do you think?
I think I'm going to have to go with rental income and equity growth. A. Final answer.
Final answer. That's a good one. Good answer.
Got
that one right. And I'm going to unpack this one because we might have some people watching this like, no, wait a minute. Tax benefits are always like the top thing in real estate, aren't they? And tax benefits are great. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, one of the reasons to invest in real estate is it has a lot of tax benefits. There's depreciation. You can do 1031 exchanges. But at least my contention, what I teach is that the main two ways you make money is either the cash flow from the property, the income, or the fact that the property grows in value and the rent grows in value over time. So you build equity, you pay down your debt, the price goes up. So you're 100% right, Brad, that rental income, equity growth, those are the two drivers. Tax benefits, I kind of call like, that's gravy. That's good. That's extra, but you don't want to do a deal just for tax benefits. You got any thoughts on that? Any other feedback? You think that's a good answer?
Me, I do. I think it's I would not have thought about the equity growth as much, being as much of a player in that if I hadn't listened to the stuff that you teach. So, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it's something I early in my career, and I think cash flow and income are awesome. Like, it's definitely a focus, but I've learned over the time that some deals make a lot more equity growth and a little bit cash flow right up front. Other deals are great cash flow, but not much equity growth. Like, I have a mobile home that I bought one time, and the mobile home's going down in value. Like, it makes a ton of cash flow, but like eventually I'm just going to have to throw the thing away, right? So it's like there's not a lot of growth in the mobile home itself. The land underneath it actually goes up in value, but it just taught me that sometimes the land and the equity growth is I underappreciated it, and it's actually what's built a lot of my wealth. And so I didn't give it enough credit. They both matter, but equity growth has actually been the bigger engine for me in building wealth. All right, next question, Brad. You're doing great. Remember, you missed one, so you can't miss any more here, and we have three more questions, including this one. The question here is, Brad, is which step in the deal funnel is most often the key reason investors struggle to close deals? And as someone who has been our all-star student in our acquisitions course inside of Rental Property Mastery, and I'm pretty sure you know this one, but A is the reason people don't succeed buying deals. A, not sending enough direct mail. B, making too few offers, so not making enough offers. C, failing to follow up. Or D, conducting poor due diligence. Which one of those do you think it is, Brad?
All right, so I don't want to be too confident here after I just got smacked down there a minute ago. But I think it's definitely not sending enough direct mail, and it's not conducting poor due diligence, and it's not failing to follow up, although it could be. But I really think the answer is B, making too few offers.
Final answer?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're a wise guy. You got it. Very good. And maybe you could explain the story, Brad, because this is something in our course that we talk about all the time. And in RPM, like you gotta. The most common objection I get from people is like, "I'm not getting any deals. What's going on?" Like, what's the lesson we always teach about that?
Yeah, you gotta make offers to get deals. If you don't make any offers, you can't get any offers accepted. And I actually found that focusing on the making like a quantity of offers actually works. Imagine that. Yeah. And got a contract during that course, so that was very cool. Yeah,
you did great. Absolutely. Yeah, so most people they're out looking, and they're looking on Zillow, but they're just not having a volume of offers. If you're not making 10 offers, 15 offers, and you're telling me there's not enough deals, I'm going to send you back into the field. Like, hey, go make more offers. And sometimes those are uncomfortable offers. Like I bought a deal recently where we started off making an offer of 190,000 and they were listed for 299. So it's like $110,000 difference. And that's not always going to get accepted, but they eventually came down on their price. And so you can't, just because your offer is lower, just make the offer, like to talk to them, like let them know, especially in a buyer's market like we're in right now, like that's something you got to do. All right. Well done, Brad. All right. You got 2 more and we're getting closer though. You're getting closer to we're going to make them a little bit harder. This is a little bit more obscure, a little bit more like personal to me, but all right. So this question is, what rental property system does Coach say gives a superpower like Neo in the Matrix? So if you do this part of real estate investing, you get good at it, it makes you like Neo from the Matrix, which is, by the way, one of my favorite movies of all time, is that whole concept of the Matrix. And so the questions or the potential answers, Brad, are A, tenant screening will give you that superpower, or B, bookkeeping, good bookkeeping will give you the superpower, C, deal acquisitions, or D, creative financing. And maybe talk through your answers on this, Brad, and we can see how you're thinking.
Let's see. So if we're talking about a superpower like Neo has, it's probably not anything to do with tenant screening. That's like when you're trying to get it rented. Bookkeeping sounds not like it either, because it's kind of just like technical and in the weeds. But it might be the answer, because I know that if you can understand your financials, then you would be able to see the matrix or see more. Deal acquisitions, not really helping with the superpower, I don't think. And creative financing, not so much. I don't think that's just applied into a few situations. So I'll go with B, bookkeeping, final answer.
Well done, Brad.
Yeah.
B, bookkeeping.
Right.
And I'll tell the backstory to this. So if anybody has watched The Matrix, like the moment when Neo got his superpowers, it was the moment where he could start seeing the whole world in zeros and ones. So Brad's in the tech world. He's a computer guy. So like the whole basis of everything computer-wise is like Neo seeing everything in zeros and ones. And the world slowed down for him, and he could like stop bullets and he could dodge bullets and he could do all that stuff. I compare bookkeeping to that because it seems like a boring thing, but like when you know the numbers in your business, the whole business slows down. And you can see things. Like if you look at your report in your bookkeeping like this month and you see one little number off, you're like, hey, what's going on with that? Like, that's interesting. Like, maybe we need to go fix that. And the opposite of that is a lot of people just like fly by the seat of their pants. They do their business, and maybe they still are supposedly successful, but they don't really know what's going on with their business. And I've seen this happen so many times behind the scenes as a coach. So I really value bookkeeping, not because it's the most exciting part of the business, not because it's sexy, but because it makes you like Neo, makes you a superhero. And Brad, you kind of reasoned that one through, man. Good job on that.
One more.
All right, here we go. Last question. To be a time billionaire and also to win the grand prize of a $600 value RPM retreat ticket. The question is, what protects you from sliding backwards financially? Our whole goal is financial freedom, right? So you could potentially go backwards. Like, what can help you protect you from going backwards? Is it A, tax depreciation, B, having a high debt to equity ratio, C, having a seller's market, does that help you avoid sliding back, or D, having an income floor? Which one is it, Brad?
Okay, so this is really kind of like not necessarily real estate, right? We're talking overall sliding backward financially. So tax depreciation, while that would help, I don't think it would necessarily keep you from overall sliding backwards. High debt to equity, meaning you have way too much debt compared to how much equity you have. I know debt's a killer. That might be it. Seller's market would be nice if that was all it took, but that's not it. And an income floor, that does imply that could keep you from sliding backwards. So I'm a little bit torn on B and D. How much time's on the clock? I'm thinking.
we need to have the Jeopardy counter, don't we? You're doing a good job thinking it through.
Let's see. If I got high debt and low equity, how's that going to protect me? All right. Not really confident in myself here. Wait, why do I keep going back to this? I keep going back to this high debt to equity ratio. I'm trying to think about how that would possibly help me from sliding backwards.
Yeah, keep talking your way through that one and say what that is.
Because if I got high debt, like that's just, regardless of how much equity I have, that's potential to slide backwards. So that doesn't seem like it's going to help me. And tax depreciation is just like a nice to have for your rental properties, but it's not going to help you. Just going to let you pay less taxes. And then a seller's market, obviously, it's not good for a buyer. If you're a buyer, well, I guess if you're a seller, you can have pricing power and sell your house for more, but I doubt that would help you from sliding backwards. So that leaves me with one which seems questionable, but I gotta go with it, and it's D, income floor.
Is that your final answer, Brad?
That would be my final answer.
You did some good thinking, Brad. You get it. Woohoo!
Yay! Nice.
You are the time billionaire. You've won.
Yes.
You've won the $600 prize of going free to the RPM retreat, which is an awesome event that you went to last year as well. And so I want to explain this one too, just before we kind of get towards the end, is that a big part of financial freedom and what we're trying to teach using real estate investing is that a lot of the common real estate advice is to grow, get in more debt. And there's this idea, though, that eventually you start harvesting some of your equity. And one of the tools or the ways to think about harvesting your equity so that you don't slide backwards is to at least kind of carve out a part of your portfolio that just produces cash flow for you in a safe way. And for example, one example that'd be like you might have 20 properties, but maybe you pay off 5 of your properties or 10 of your properties or something and have no debt on those properties or have a very low debt so that, they're very low risk. And so you've created this like super conservative part of your portfolio. And I had an old mentor named Jack Miller, who was a teacher. I used to go to his conferences, and he had this kind of funny Southern accent, would joke a lot. He's like, Chad, it's kind of hard to fall off the floor. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's hard to fall off the floor. So if you create a floor where where you have this cash flow and you have very low risk investments, then you got a base and you can still grow if you want. Like if you want to buy more properties, you want to get bigger, cool. But like now you got this thing that you it's almost like a fortress you built around this income floor. And you said, I'm not going backwards from here. And this is something I think's missed a lot with like growth, get big, and not thinking about how do I harvest my equity and actually have this thing that I can build on instead of just continuing to grow. So Brad, you reasoned that through really, really well. Well done. Congrats on answering these questions.
Yay, thanks.
Were there any that which one was the most difficult for you just having to think about?
Maybe this one right here. And there was, the one I missed obviously, but I think I just went too fast on that one. I had to just think through this one a little bit more. I guess it was not necessarily real estate related per se. It could be, since we're talking about financial independence, but I knew it wasn't ANC, and then I realized B didn't make sense either. So
I mean, the reason I think debt or the high debt to equity ratio is something you thought about is because over time having less debt is actually a good thing, a lower debt rate. But I think the high was the key word. If we had said low debt to equity ratio and income floor, that would have been pretty a tough choice. I would have thought either one of those could have been right, but you thought it through right and said, if I had the more debt I have, that's actually not that's going to put me more at risk of going backwards at that point. If you could become a time billionaire, just like what would you do? What would you do with your time in that case? Brad, have you thought about that answer at all? If you had an unlimited amount of time and you're like, man, I could just do whatever I want, like what would you do? I'm curious what your answer would be.
It's kind of a hard question to answer, really, but I think overall, I think I would try to just like slow life down as much as possible and just be more present in everything I do, really. I try to, stay in touch with people better, like just nurture my relationships, I guess. And I would indulge my current hobbies like hiking. Maybe I would finally hike the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Yeah. And then I would probably, since I've got all the time in the world, I would probably pick up some new hobbies. I used to play guitar way back in the day, so I would probably pick that back up. And then I might try to learn piano. And then generally I think I would just kind of, focus on taking care of myself, making sure I'm eating well. And I think overall just like, like I said originally, just being more intentional about my day-to-day life.
That's well said. Beautiful. Yeah, I think that's cool. I think I'm curious what other people's answers are, but I think for all of us, it's a combination of, pretty like relationships always come to mind, being present with our family, people we love, and then also hobbies and things we're interested in that we haven't allowed ourselves to indulge in. And then just health, like taking care of ourselves better, not being so stressed and not ever eating right and not exercising, like actually taking care of yourself a little bit. All right, good answer. So first of all, Brad, congratulations. You're the winner. But all of you listening, like the whole goal of this episode and this was to have some fun, was to learn a little bit about real estate investing and to plant some seeds with you, both about your own financial freedom, about real estate investing. It's a fun journey. It can be a long journey, but you have people like Brad and me and who are going on the journey with you. And I hope you find your community, like the rental property mastery and the kind of fun we're having there is my version of that and what we're trying to build here. So if you are interested in rental property mastery, I'll have links in the show notes and the podcast and YouTube description. You can check it out. It's a place where you can learn to buy more properties, get better financing, where you can learn to manage your systems and your processes and eventually move towards the goal we all have, which is financial freedom. All right. Well, awesome, Brad. Thanks for being our first ever contestant on the Who Wants to Be a Time Billionaire. This is fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
In this special episode, we had a little fun learning how to become a time billionaire as a small money investor. But you might be wondering, how do you actually build that income floor that we talked about? How do you build an income or a cash flow of $10,000 or more using real estate? So in my next video, I want to show you exactly how to do that. It's called How to Create $10,000 per Month in Rental Cash Flow Starting from Scratch. If you're watching on YouTube, you can click on the thumbnail above me here, or you can click on the podcast or YouTube description below for a link. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Michael, you have anything else you need for anybody else? Oh, Kelly brought up, do we need to get a picture of Brad looking nervous for the thumbnail?